Hey everyone, welcome to the Autoflux Games 2022. This is the first event of the games, one of 5, but there are going to be quite a few more things in between, and well, I figure it's important that I explain what's going on to you, so let's get into that. Okay, first of all, as I'm explaining these things, you're going to see some cars that are actually made by members of my Discord community. They've gone there, they've downloaded my creations, and they made their own versions of them for this specific part in the video. So anytime I'm explaining the rules or whatever, you're going to see cars from them up here. You can go there yourself and download them and get featured here if you want to. That's the way I've decided to do things, so yeah, more cars the merrier. Come on and join before I run out. So what's happened so far is I've made 5 cars that are going to be going up against each other in a series of challenges. This is challenge number 1, which is drag racing, but with an empty fuel tank. We'll see how well that goes. Each car is going to be given 0.5 liters of fuel, and we're going to go through 2 stages. The first stage I'll explain as we go, and then the second stage we'll get to when we get to it. I just wanted to point out that this series and this event in particular is sponsored by my website, automotiveflux.com. Go check it out. You can buy a Bugo sticker, and if you want, maybe I'll make Pugo stickers as well. And that would help support this channel. And also be sure to like this video and subscribe if you're enjoying these events. And returning from previous games is the community poll. I want your feedback on these events and also these cars, but the way that we're going to do it this year is a little bit different. Instead of making an actual poll, what I'm going to do is at the end of the games, I'm going to have a little category for the video where the car was created with the most likes. So go to the video of the car that you like the most, like that video, and that will help contribute towards its success in the games. As weird as that sounds, that's the way we're going this time. I think it just makes a little bit more sense. But anyway, let's get into event number 1. I mean, if I forget anything, I'll tell you along the way, but man, there's a lot of rules and stuff to cover here. But this is the grid map, small and pure, and this is my daily in BeamNG. It's a bit of a beast, a supercharged beast in fact, but it's not so much of a beast when you go over to the tuning and you take away its fuel. So it's currently got 70 liters. Let's knock that all the way down to 0.5 and see how well it works. You can see there I've got a distance counter, and well, we'll only get so far before the engine erupts. Obviously, if I'm missing shifts, we're not going to get as far. But there we go, 300-ish meters, and the engine exploded because we ran out of gas. It didn't actually explode, but I mean, I like to dream. But you can see we did make it up to 160 kilometers an hour or so, and we're now coasting into whatever this is, which is kind of just an endless abyss. That's the entire point of this map, actually. So this car is rather efficient, at least in its rolling without power. We've managed to make it so far 2.2 kilometers, and we're just under 60 kilometers an hour still left, slowly ticking down, and eventually it'll come to a stop, as with all things in physical nature. That's just how physics works. But the distance is key in this challenge, because that's what I'm going to be recording for each of these. I'm going to do 2 runs each for the cars, and then in the end, we'll see which one has gone the farthest on half liter of fuel. As for the rules, basically I'm going to give the car all of the gas that it can take, full throttle, all through the gears as best I can, and then when it dies, it dies. That's all I can do. So we'll kind of see how that goes. So far, not so bad for this one, setting a bit of a baseline at around 3 kilometers. Okay, I don't know if we're going to get another 200 meters on 20 kilometers an hour, but you never know. And the car has come to a rolling stop at 2.9 kilometers. You'll notice that there aren't any additional decimal places. Obviously there are some in the background, but if it's 2.9 for multiple, then we'll just kind of keep them as a tie. So let's go. Let's start off the events by going in the order in which the cars were built. First one is going to be the Snakebite, definitely the least popular of the cars, at least in terms of the video's views, but one that I think is pretty decent. It's not as crazy as some of the other vehicles, but it is cool. I mean, it has green wheels, for crying out loud. Let's see how well they do in this challenge. So as we do, we go over here, drop it down to half a liter, and then because it'll be idling and that's not technically fair, I'm just going to reset, quickly reset the car, and then immediately switch it into drive and take off for our first run of the games. Now this car is automatic. I don't need to do anything except hold down the throttle, and then we get up to our top speed. It's starting to backfire a little bit, which means it's probably starting to run out of fuel, as you would likely suspect. 150 kilometers an hour, and I think, yep, we just died. So, yeah, I'll drop her down into neutral, and we can just kind of sit and wait. But it died somewhere around 700 meters, so I don't know. It depends really on how fast it gets up to. But I'm kind of curious because the entire point of this challenge is to mess up the big power cars. Now, by allowing them to roll, I am giving the big power cars a little bit of a chance. Like, obviously, something like the Pugo is going to get a lot further because it's such a small engine. But when these cars are rolling, they're using up that speed that they generated. So it is kind of an equal equation there. I'm curious to see how it works out in the graph, though. Well, we've already smashed our current record. The baseline was 2.9 kilometers, and this thing has already managed to do 3. I'm guessing it's going to pull out a 3.1 before the end of this. We still got 15 kilometers left in the momentum. Come on, car, let's go. And that's going to be it. 3.1 kilometers for its first run. Alright, as the second run comes to a close, it seems like it's going to be actually a little bit less, over 100 meters less. Yikes. Well, let's keep that in mind. 2.9 kilometers, but the best so far is 3.1. So up next is one of the beasts I'm hoping to scare with this challenge, because this thing has over 2,000 horsepower. It's front-wheel drive. It's very light, but it is a bit of a disaster. So let's see how it does in something where fuel is very strictly limited. Alright, quick reset, and we're in comfort mode. That's probably not ideal. Actually, you know what? That might help with the fuel economy. You never know. I'm not changing modes or anything for these events, because that doesn't make a lot of sense for it. Looks like we managed to do... I'm gonna just, by the way, drop them into neutral as soon as the engine dies, but we managed to do over 200 kilometers an hour right out of the gate there. Again, if we were just counting... pure distance based on when the engine explodes, I think this one would probably kind of be mid-pack based on what I've seen so far. I did a little bit of testing of this earlier. However, we got up to a pretty significant speed there. It is dropping quick, but we were over 200 kilometers an hour if I was looking correctly. It's already up to 2 kilometers. It's barely been any time at all. I think this one might have it so far. Yikes. Man, so much for the challenge that breaks the really high-powered cars. Oh, man. Well, we've got some more challenges that are a little bit more fair coming up. So immediately we are past the record holder currently. That's 3.2 kilometers an hour. We still have 60 kilometers left of momentum. How long that's going to last, I'm not sure, but I bet this thing's going to make it to 4, maybe 3.8. That's probably a more conservative estimate. And as we draw to a close, looks like it's going to be 4.1 kilometers on the first run for the Red Rocket. That is ridiculously quick. Alright, as it draws to a close, I actually managed to get a better score this time. 4.2 kilometers is pretty darn good. That's going to be the lead. Up next is the world favorite, Pugo, with half-liter of fuel. Let's see if this thing can't just drive 4 kilometers on half-liter of fuel. I bet it probably can. We've currently got a couple of millimeters. Let me just reset it and run it. Let's see how it does. So the Pugo is not very quick, and that's kind of by design. It's got a 25 horsepower engine, I believe, which is not much. And you can see that here. We'll probably be able to drive a reasonable amount of time, maybe not distance, but time at the very least. With this very little amount of fuel. I'm hoping that it'll just drive the furthest because, well, I don't know, it's a fun car. It's very light, it's very small, it has tiny wheels, and it has a diff in the back for no real reason. And would you look at that, it's already gone 500 meters and we're still driving. It's not even sputtering yet. 700 meters, oh my goodness, the Pugo is OP, 80 kilometers an hour. This is the one that I was looking forward to see how well it would do. It's gonna drive over a kilometer still on this tank. Oh my goodness, it did it. Pugo OP, 1.3 kilometers. Oh my goodness. There's no way it's gonna coast all the way to 4 point something, but... Oh, it's starting to backfire. I think that means it's running out of fuel. Oh man, this one definitely breaks the record for the longest driven, that's for sure. 1.7. 2 kilometers and still moving. It's starting to slow down. I suspect the engine power is lowering. Come on, give me an engine inoperable sign here, buddy. That's the only way I'm going down into neutral. 2.5 kilometers. Come on. Oh, there it is. Alright, let's see how far it'll coast now. 2.5 kilometers, and it didn't even flinch. My goodness. Yeah, if you're looking for fuel efficiency, out of all the cars in this lineup, you're looking at the right one right here. Now, the problem is it doesn't weigh very much. I don't know how long it's going to be able to coast for. Like, the momentum that it brought up there, I think I stopped around 78 kilometers an hour. It's not quite the 190 that we were doing with the shoestring, or the Red Rocket as it's called. So 3 kilometers, but most of it actually driven, which is really awesome. So definitely an award for trying the hardest right there for the Pugo. And it's already beaten the Snakebite. Come on, Pugo, you got this. It's pulled into second place. Not bad, actually. Not bad at all. Apparently this is punishing the more average cars, because I didn't think that this would be the case. I'm very happy to say, though, I think it looks like the Pugo is going to hit 3.2 kilometers, maybe 3.3. That's pretty decent. Oh yeah, 3.3k. That's going to do it. I did let it go all the way to 0, by the way. It's still 3.3. And that's another 3.3 kilometers for the Pugo. Very consistent. Alright, so up next is the Ferrari. It's kind of a Ferrari, kind of a bit of a weird one. This one's a manual transmission, so it's going to be a little bit awkward. But if you remember this car, it is the massive engine, 50 horsepower car, probably the most popular video so far in this series, and the one that has the most likes currently, so it's going to win the challenge unless you do something. So yeah, let's go ahead and try it out in this. Now, because it's a manual, I believe it's a 5-speed. I'm not going to be able to drop it down into neutral very quickly, so I kind of need to push down the clutch. I'm going to try it, and we'll see how it goes. Alright, I got my button assigned for the clutch. I think it's ready to go. Let's take off after a quick reset, and... Okay. Yeah, this car is very funky. It's a bit of a weird one to drive, and I think that's kind of a good thing. It's going to be strange around the track when we're running it, and it does present some complications in this challenge just because it's manual. But I'm shifting it pretty high in the RPM, as you can see. Oh, it's running out of steam. Oh, it's really not like in 4th gear. Uh-oh, come on, car. I'm just going to hold it here until the engine dies. 700 meters. Wow. Okay, engine's done. That is it. I dropped it down and I'm holding the clutch. Let's wait and see how long it'll go. You know, I don't think this one's going to do very well. Just a suspicion based on the speed we got up to and the, distance we were able to drive. In terms of driving, it seems to be second place in terms of how far it'll go, at least. But it is second place in terms of how much power it has at the low end. 50 horsepower is only double what the Pugo has. But because the engine is massive, like, it's not very efficient. 40 kilometers an hour left in our momentum, and we have 1.7 kilometers so far total distance. I'm gonna have to run this one once more because I'm worried that the inconsistency comes from my clutch handling, but we gotta see. Currently what I've done is just held the clutch when the engine brakes and then shifted down into neutral and let go of the clutch. That's, well, what you would do in real life anyway. Ooh, this is going to be a poor performance from this car. I'm curious as well what the monster truck is going to do on our next run. It might be really good. Who knows? Those tires might help it. Something I should point out is that this car has very thin wheels. Part of my idea with it was to make it have thin wheels so that it would be light and so that it would roll nicely and it would drive well, even though it only has 50 horsepower. The thing is a built race car, if it weren't for the massive choke that the radiator gives, and also the exhaust as well. But looks like we're going to have a pretty poor showing in this contest. 2.3 kilometers, looks like that might be all we get. Not much considering what we're working with here, but there are definitely some chances for it to succeed, and I'm excited to see those possibilities. So I noticed in our first run that the car was having issues with fourth gear. It didn't have enough give to get into fourth gear, so it was staying in neutral and it was feathering the clutch and stuff. No idea if that's just an issue with the gearing and its compatibility with BeamNG, because I switched the gear, but BeamNG wasn't letting it go in, so a bit of a weirdness going on there. I decided to hold third for this run all the way through until the engine ran out of juice, and it just so happened to get approximately 1.6 kilometers, which is quite a bit worse than 2.3, so bit of a botched second run, but I don't think we were going to get much better than 2.3 with this car. The gearing is definitely not suited for this, and there we go, that's 1.7 kilometers. And last but not least, for this event 1, Part 1 is going to be the Amazon Prime Extreme Delivery Vehicle. Let's see if this thing can't just run over some obstacles and get us to maybe a second place. I don't think this thing's going to beat the Red Rocket. It's not slow, but it's not exactly fast either, and the big tires are either going to be a massive hindrance or maybe some kind of help. The rolling resistance of these mud tires is not great. But anyway, this thing's four-wheel drive. I'm going to leave it settings as is. I'm going to do a quick reset here and then launch it. Let's go. Automatic, so no need to worry about the gear changing stuff. It's still in comfort mode. By the way, this thing does rev up past 7,000 RPM for whatever reason. Not sure why I needed to do that, but yeah, it's got a bit of a revving engine. So far, not too bad. 500 meters, and the fuel is definitely running out. 700, oh, come on now. Over a kilometer and the fuel is still in the tank. I can't believe this. It's actually a lot more efficient than I thought. And that was that. 1.3-ish maybe before it ran out of gas. Not bad at all, and up to 150 kilometers an hour. Surprisingly efficient for something so ridiculously awful, but anyways, the rolling resistance is what I'm mostly concerned about now, because it's got up to 2 kilometers pretty quick. It's immediately gonna pass the Magic 302, the Ferrari, but I don't know, is it gonna slow down faster just because the wheels are bigger? There's only one way to find out. You know, when I said second place, I was entirely guessing. 3.3, actually 3.4 kilometers right there. That's enough to pass the Pugo and put this Amazon Prime turd in second place. My goodness. Okay, what the heck is going on here? That's 3.9 kilometers. Is this thing gonna be the most efficient vehicle in my running? No way, 4 kilometers. Oh no, it has 0.2 left and it's still got... it's gonna take first place, there's no question about it. Wow. Just wow. I guess we really did save the best for last. That's 4.3 kilometers and officially better than the Red Rocket. I guess this thing has a better balance of power to weight for whatever reason. I don't know what's going on anymore. The world is turning upside down and this monster truck is winning my fuel efficiency tests. Although, let's be honest, they're not exactly scientific. And as it slows down here for the finale, it's up to 4.6 kilometers. What on this earth, man? That is significantly more than I was able to do with the Red Rocket. Again, I'm not trying specifically to go to the distance, but man, that's pretty darn good. Like, I don't know. That's better than I thought it would be. Okay, I kind of figured out why this engine is working so well for this. And it's because the thing pulls hard right to the last, like, fume of fuel. There's no dying at the end there. It's just over 6,000 RPM, pulling hard, and then boom, that's it. So we get all the way up to like 160 something kilometers an hour before it actually gets any slowdown. I bet it would be even better if I took it out of four-wheel drive, but I'm not going to. It's already won anyways. Alright, pretty darn consistent. That's 4.6 kilometers once again for the Amazon Prime big boy. And with that, well, unless it happens to get to 4.7 anytime soon, doesn't exactly matter. I figure it's time that we talked about who's won this one. Alright, so in first place we have Amazon Prime, the thing that you're looking at right here. Could be Optimus Prime, I guess, if I want it to be, at 4.6 kilometers of distance from 0.5 liters to full acceleration and then empty to the, well, coast, I guess you could call it, to the end. 4.6 kilometers. Second place is the Red Rocket with 4.2. Third is the Pugo. Fourth is the Snakebite. And then lastly, very far behind in fifth, is the Magic 302 with also the honorable worst run so far. Let's get on to event 2. So I've called this a drag race, and there are a few reasons for that. I know we're not using an actual drag strip, but it is a drag race in essence, where I'm accelerating as fast as I possibly can, and I kind of want to see how that works. So what we're going to be doing here is running the highway strip drag race with the same parameters that we've just done, except the car has to make it to the end. It has to. So here's the time trial. It's fairly simple. We need to drive down this highway as fast as possible, and the game is going to time us as we do so. This car here is just a little bit of a test for us, so you can see what I'm actually going to be doing. Again, I've given it 0.5 liters of fuel because this is where it gets interesting. I have options here. I can either just flat out run it, which I probably am going to. I'm going to run each of these cars 3 times in 3 different ways, one of which I'm going to take things very conservatively and try to maintain the fuel all the way through. But likely what's going to happen is we're going to run up real fast, we're going to coast into the finish line, and then that time is going to go into our table. Obviously the best time wins. This is a 1 mile strip, so while as we've seen with some of the kilometers of cars that are actually able to drive that distance, that is a pretty significant advantage for this challenge. The Pugo, as an example, can drive quite far here, so there will be no coasting for that car. Alright, quick reset, and we'll start off with a really hefty start there. 0.5 liters of fuel, and me just trying to coast as much as I can through this. Now this is an all-wheel drive car. I don't remember what engine this has in it. It doesn't really matter, I guess, but you can kind of get a layout of what we're looking at with something that should be reasonably efficient. Obviously my automation cars are not efficient at all, and I need to reset the scenario in order to actually get a time, but with the engine locked up, we're just basically going to have to coast all the way through the rest of the track. But doing 120 kilometers an hour means that we'll get there fairly quickly. The end is just over here. There's the finish line. And that's what's going to happen. So it's going to be all about time instead of about distance. Let's see who can do this the fastest. We're going to go in order from the worst to the best from the last challenge, because I figure that's going to make things more interesting. Let's take the Magic 302 out and see what it'll do on half liter of fuel over the course of this race. In order to do this, by the way, you have to turn off competitive scenarios, but it should just be a reset, and we'll have the timer again. Oh, the car died. Okay, there we go. Now, if I'm not mistaken, this car should be able to drive most of this distance. This is the part of the video where I tell you that I haven't tested this. So, yeah, let's see what it'll do on the first run where I just go full out all the way. And maybe I'll go into fourth, because that actually did seem to work out better last time. But as you can see, it really hesitates to get into fourth. It's almost like the clutch is slipping as it tries to engage, and it's weird to see. Oh, the engine died, so that's not a good start. I think we can get a little bit faster than this, though. I'm holding the clutch right now. I'm going to coast all the way to the end. You'll notice that this is actually uphill, so we're losing speed a little bit faster than we would otherwise. We might not even make it to the end to trying to go full out with this car. I've just thought about that possibility. Oh man, come on. I don't think it's going to make it. I really don't. That's 30 kilometers an hour. Still got a decent amount of uphill to go. Oh, come on, car. Come on. You got this. I'm not sure if it died because it's out of fuel or it died just because it died, but that's not going to be enough to finish the race. And yep, we're dead in the water, and the finish line is well over there. Yikes. Okay. I'm gonna have to be a little bit more careful this time. Okay, so I launched this time a little bit nicer. I'm gonna try to stick it out in third and just kind of hold maybe 50 kilometers an hour or so. This is gonna be a slow run. But the higher the gear we're in, the better, because when we shifted into fourth, it didn't seem like this was actually possible. So I'm kind of curious if we're gonna have to limp this car all the way there. I didn't realize I'd be picking such a tough one for the beginning of this, but maybe it's the turbos that make it inefficient. And if we stay out of boost, we might be able to just make it. So let's try 50 kilometers an hour and just coast our way in. Come on, car. That is definitely not gonna work. I'm gonna have to go even slower. Oh man. It's honestly the uphill that kills this thing. It really is. Just going uphill is such a problem. I didn't expect that when I was creating this event idea, but you know what? It just adds to the fun, I think. Personally, the challenge is here. And that's not gonna make it. Oh, come on. A little bit of boost. Oh, she's out of fuel again. Oh no. Okay, I'm gonna crawl all the way over there at 20 kilometers an hour, but I'm not even getting further. How is this possible? Now, I understand that peak efficiency for a lot of engines is not necessarily at their lowest RPM, but for the purposes of this one, I just kind of figure that trying it makes it more fun. We're not even getting close to the finish line, and if it doesn't make it through this run, I may have to just DNF this car. Oh man. So disappointing, because I know that there's going to be a few of them that will make it, but yeah, I guess that's where the struggle of the challenge comes in. Not every car is made for every challenge. If I can get one run with this car, just one, I will be overjoyed. Come on, we got to make it past this checkpoint, buddy. This is the one we struggle with. The economy is doing me harm. Oh, how many liters we got left? Like nothing? I'm betting there's like 0.1 liters left in the tank right now. The car is dying. I'm just gonna full throttle it. We gotta get that momentum up. Oh, the engine died. And this is as far as she goes. Oh, that's a DNF, boys. Not a good start to this challenge. Alright, up next we have the snake bite. I'm just gonna very gingerly launch this one off the line. No revs or anything crazy like that. I just want to see how it'll do at full throttle all the way there. A little bit more power. Well, actually I think 4 times as much power. But we know that it'll do at least a few hundred meters before it gives out at this speed. So let's just run it through and see how it goes. Momentum should carry us most of the way at 130 kilometers an hour. I think this one might be the first one to finish. And I'm hopeful because I didn't design this for everything to fail. Come on now, 100 Ks as we crest the curve. Yes, let's do it. 100 kilometers an hour, you gotta be able to make it. No way, please. There's the finish line right there, and the snake bite is proving just how easy the challenge can be. That is a time of 1:56. Pretty darn good. Okay, so for whatever reason, the timing stuff was not working for that entire section, but it's back. The checkpoints themselves are at least, so we should be able to actually get a decent time, or a decent look at what the time is from the game itself instead of just me guessing. That's okay though, I'm keeping that 56 run, and I think the truck is basically going to do the same thing consistently, but I'm going to give it another fast run just to be sure, and then I'm going to give it a run going a little bit slower, not full out, and I want to see if it's enough to make it. Come on, truck, let's do it. We know that it's going to finish, we just don't know how fast it's going to be able to go in. That's looking pretty good though. Oh, might even be better than the last run. Actually, it's shockingly consistent. That's a 56.108. Real quick. Not bad. Oh, pretty good run right here. I'm using a third throttle and we're able to power our way through. That's the finish line, so I'm going to give it a little bit extra. Use as much fuel as we have. Oh, that's a good run. No, actually, it isn't. 1 minute. Oh, that's rough. So the snakebite was able to do the challenge in 56 seconds. I'm just going to go with the first time of 56 even. Seems pretty reasonable. Unless there's some discrepancy, we'll use the actual timer time, which is important. But you can see the checkpoints are still there, so we're good. This is the Pugo. If you remember from before, it was able to run like 2 kilometers on its maximum throttle, so I don't think we're going to struggle too much with this. I'm just going to shift it into drive and give it the beans and see how long it'll do. I'm guessing it'll be pretty consistent times because it doesn't have anything to do with how I modulate the throttle or anything. It's just going to be full out all the way through. Let's run it and see. Alright, Pugo, no revs at the beginning either. Oh, maybe I should have revved at the beginning. Okay, next time we're revving at the beginning. Let's go, Pugo. Actually, Pugo, sorry, Pugo. That's sacrilege. It is absolutely to be expected that this car will make it through this run on its own. Now the uphill is a bit of a different story. I'm not sure if it's going to be able to maintain the speed that it was able to do previously. Now before we were cruising around 80 kilometers an hour. I think we got up to 87, somewhere around there. Probably just because the fuel tank being empty means it's a lot less weight in this car. That means a significant percentage when the car barely weighs anything. But we're cruising at about 77 now, and I feel that it's still going strong. I'm gonna bet that we just cruise all the way through this, and if we don't, I'll be disappointed. Man, the Pugo can be disappointing sometimes, can't it? Oh yes, easy. Okay, first run. Let's see what we get. That is a 128. Huh. And the timer didn't work. This game doesn't like me sometimes. Well, boys, if you have a half liter of fuel and you need to drive 1 mile, I've got the car for you. That's a 127.6 with the actual timer this time. That is quick. And another very consistent run. That's 127.202. That's pretty good, but that is still second place out of 3 cars run. Alright, I learned my lesson about resetting the time trial, but it's time for the red rocket. Let's see how it does in this challenge. I know it's going to have to coast, so we're going to do 2 runs full out, and then I'm going to do another one where I kind of half throttle it and see how she does. So let's take off and see how it goes. Yeah, I don't think I'm going to be able to rev beforehand, just because it's going to run out of fuel before I even leave the starting line. Let's do it. I'm just going to start BeamNG.drive, and off we go. Okay, full out. How fast can we get this car moving? Probably pretty darn fast, over 200 kilometers an hour. And that's it for fuel. So coasting all the way to the end at 200 kilometers an hour. Pretty darn fast. I suspect, I mean, this is probably the fastest car in the entire lineup by a long shot, so I have no doubt that it's going to come in first here. It's just to be expected. But honestly, it's by how much that I really care. That's going to be 37 seconds? Not bad, actually. Not bad. And that second run with me really trying to kind of nail it, doing my best to do the best that I can do. That's a 37.215. Now let's try half throttle and see how that does. This is going to be a completely different run. Slow acceleration and trying to remain at the right throttle position. Oh, we're at 30%. Come on, maybe make it up to 50%. I don't think this is going to help that much, but I'm curious to see. Now, I mean, we are running. Oh, never mind. That barely made any difference at all. We kind of ran all the way up to 200 kilometers an hour anyways, so yeah, I'm guessing that's probably not going to matter. From the absolute most scientific testing possible, I've managed to figure out that that was actually quicker. There you go, 35.864. There's definitely more in that car. Test it for yourself. I mean, it's on the Discord. That's the fastest run. And last but definitely not least is the fan favorite Amazon Prime vehicle. Now, I have a genuine question here, and that is this thing going to fit through that thing directly in front of us? Because if it doesn't, it gets DNF'd. It's just too big for the contest. But anyway, let's just quickly test that out before I go anywhere. I just want to make sure it'll actually fit. And then we'll give it a real run. Oh, it's real tight, but it'll make it. I'm gonna give it the beans. The Amazon Prime is one not to be trifled with. This thing is faster than it would definitely seem, and it also is more efficient than it would seem, but it is fairly heavy, and again, rolling resistance is ridiculous on this truck, so I'm very curious to see if it actually makes it all the way there. It did pretty much 1.6 kilometers last time, which is 1 mile, if my math is at all correct, so it might just be able to run all the way there. It's not going to be able to do so with the same ferocity as the Red Rocket, but man. Oh, there goes the engine. And this is going to be a fast time, but not fast enough. That's 46.413 seconds. Very fast. That is second place. Easy. So we already have our lineup, but I'm going to run these cars again because I'm kind of curious to see how I can do on subsequent runs with this. I'm going to just run it once again with full throttle, and then I'll run half and see if that does anything. It worked better with the Red Rocket, but that also might just be because it cut down on wheel spin. That car is front wheel drive, so you know it rips those wheels every single chance it gets. That one felt a little faster, and it was actually pretty much the same, just slightly slower. So let's give that half throttle a try, and then we'll be done with this. It still accelerates at half throttle, which is a good thing. Obviously not as fast. Theoretically, that's more efficient, but it's given us mixed results in the past. Sometimes it fails, sometimes it works. In the case of the Magic 302, we figured out that thing is ridiculously inefficient and it just cannot do anything. But this time, I mean, will we make it all the way to the end? That's honestly my hope. I was hovering around 58% there. I'm at 56 now. Come on, that's probably about the same place as it was last time. Is it gonna fly all the way to the end? It's not faster. I'm just gonna go full throttle, but yes, it drove all the way to the end at half. 56 seconds, but at least we know. Alright, let's go through the final results. So looking at the table here, I've formulated it so it's relatively easy to understand, but basically the points are given out so that first place gets 5 points because there are 5 cars in the events, and then last place gets 1 point. So it's just 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, basically reverse order for the winners to losers. But what I'm doing, because this event was a two-parter, is I'm taking them and I'm averaging them into a combined score. So in order to make things more fair, it just kind of balances it out a little bit. Looking at that combined score is what is actually going to be passed on to the next stage of events. So in first place, we actually have a tie between the Red Rocket and the Amazon Prime, both with 4.5 points. Amazon Prime came first in the first stage and second in the second stage, so that's why. And the Red Rocket got second in the first stage and first in the second stage with 37.21 seconds. That is pretty darn fast, and that is why they are tied for first so far. And then tied for second, we have the Snakebite and the Pugo, both with 2.5 points, with the Magic 302 dead last. Man, oh man, that was not a challenge that the Magic 302 is going to excel in. It is just hilariously inefficient. So mark my words, none of the other challenges have anything to do with fuel. The cars will be full and ready to go for the next couple events. So be sure to check them out. Don't forget about all that stuff I said at the beginning of the video. We got the Discord stuff. We got the liking videos in order to add that to the challenges stuff. We got an entire playlist of the series. If you've missed it, check it out in the comments. I don't know, man. Stick around, like, subscribe, and hopefully you enjoyed this video. I'll see you again in Event 2 of the Autoflux games next week. This series is also sponsored by those who have chosen to support this channel via the join button. If you want to join this crew and get a shout out in basically every automation video I do, then you can do so with the join button. But we have Overlord, QT Bear, Terry01, GA Pope, Davis Heister, the German Dude, Sleep64, Sinlab, Jared Grigg, Goofy Plays Badger, and Phoenix Shark, as well as the supporters. You guys are awesome. I appreciate you a lot. I'll see you again next time.